Welcome back, traders. Today we're going to talk about the miners. There's been some significant news updates there. We're going to talk about TMF and why we've been seeing such great volatility there. All right, let's get into it. You might notice that my audio is significantly different than usual, and by that I mean worse. That's because I'm traveling. I'm recording this on my iPad right now. I'm actually in Tokyo at the moment, and I have not yet figured out how to get a good audio setup while on the move, so I apologize for that, but I'll try to be quick, so just bear with me here. You can see that the miners are up today. We got a little bit of a bounce after several days of really bad movement on those this week. You can see CleanSpark actually is up 12% today, and that's off of some really big news. They're going to acquire 4 facilities that are ready to operate for about a $19 million purchase. All right, the other big piece of news was Marathon Digital. They are going to pay their executives a significantly increased salary over the next 3 years. That caused Marathon to drop about 8, almost 9% yesterday. Personally, I don't view this as a bad thing. I view this as them believing that their company is going to make so much more money in the next year or two that will be a small amount. And honestly, even now, it's about a month's worth of Bitcoin production for them that they're going to be paying over a 3-year period. So honestly, it's a nothing burger. I'm not really concerned about Marathon Digital's news that's causing them to drop yesterday. Then we had CleanSpark. This is that news for CleanSpark. They're getting 4 Bitcoin mining facilities. These are 4 ready-to-go facilities, and they're going to pay $19 million to acquire those, and that's why they went up 12% today. Now let's look at TMF. Why did TMF drop so dramatically? It's because of this chart right here. This is the Fed Watch tool. You can see that this was for March was closer to a coin flip before the meeting. Now there's less than 20% chance of seeing a rate cut. And the fact that we're not going to see a rate cut means that people want to get away from bonds until we're closer to that rate cut. And you can see even for May, we're less than a coin flip in terms of chances of getting a rate cut in May now. And then the next meeting that will be pretty much an oh, geez, even June, this changed since I looked at this recently. It's slightly better than a coin flip even for June. So if we don't get a rate cut by the end of June, let's see what it is in July. We are going to see, now it's July, where it's a 96% chance that we are going to see a rate cut. If we don't get a rate cut by the end of summer, the market is going to lose it, and TMF is going to just fall into the basement. So now that we know the news, let's take a look at the charts. Now this is Marathon, and I did a quick analysis on Marathon on my shorts yesterday. You can see I was very worried about this big bearish engulfing candle here that looks a bit like an evening star. If that ends up playing out, we could see ourselves fill this gap down here at 1360-ish in the next few days or weeks, but we are technically still in the handle on this cup right here. Honestly, it looks like we're almost forming another cup on the other side of that cup, and we'll get a handle here going up maybe to the, not quite to the top of that engulfing candle, maybe 1650-ish before breaking down on that. This is a very confusing chart pattern right here. It is not breaking out of the bullish thesis, but it is creating a bearish thesis in my mind based on this like S-shaped pattern that we're seeing on Marathon. Honestly, this thing could go any direction at this point. I'm just waiting right now. I do think that it's probably going to come down in February over the next month and a half or so before we get into the halving, and I'll probably get some slightly better prices than what it currently is. Let's take a look at CleanSpark. Look at that. CleanSpark is like the complete opposite. So this is a cup and handle, right? Cup, we got our handle here. Let me draw that for you. Actually, you know what? I don't need to draw that for you. It's in this top half of this one here. That is the handle. We broke out of it today. This is very bullish. CleanSpark is looking exceptionally bullish. This is a perfect cup and handle representation right here. And let me get rid of my drawings for a second. Right, so you got your cup right here. Handle right there. And that perfect little formation there. And we just broke out of that. As soon as we got above this line right here, which we did today, and we're still going up in post, that is if it holds up there over the next 2 days, like if we get a weekly closure up above this 870 range here, this level here, where we are in bullish territory on clean spark, and that is a pretty clear signal on clean spark. Now, this is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but what I'm seeing here looks very bullish compared to its peers for clean spark. With Bitfarms, it's a similar kind of thing. We are still in this handle. It is not forming an S shape like Marathon. It's pretty clear with its downward trend. We did get not quite an engulfing candle. This is still considered an inside bar, I guess. We're getting a bit low. Honestly, we get any lower than where we currently have been with this 210. We get any lower than that, this is starting to look very bearish. So right now it's kind of indecisive with these like long body dojis coming in, but it doesn't really look bullish or bearish. Maybe we'll base out for a while like we did back here. You see where we kind of based around for a long time, from what was it, late July until November, excuse me, late July till November, where we're just basing around. We might see a move like that where we're just kind of like basing between 210 and like 250 for several months until the summer rally comes again. That could happen on Bitfarm. Honestly, that could happen on Mara and CleanSpark and BitDigital. It could happen on all of them. But Bitfarms is really showing that it wants to maybe do that. Same thing with BitDigital. You see how like last time around August we got into that chop for months and months and months again until November. I'm thinking we might see something very similar, probably, but just at a slightly higher level, like between the 230, maybe even 220 range, up to like $3. We're just kind of chopping in that for months and months and months until the summer rally comes and we start looking at these highs again around that time. Take a look at the warrants, Cipher warrants. These are interesting, actually. They are holding at this level quite nicely. And I did not anticipate holding at this like 80 to 85 cent range here. Now, it is in this upward ascending channel again. It came to the center. It keeps pinning to the center of this channel here on a slightly upward movement, even when Cipher was dropping pretty dramatically. We are getting a bit of an extension out here. Let me get rid of, that's the $1 mark. Let me get rid of that. I don't actually want that. We are staying in this downward channel right now. I do think at some point we'll probably get to the bottom of this in like the 60 cent range. I'm still not super interested in it yet. Like I've mentioned several times, I don't really like Cipher that much. I kind of like the warrants just because they have that ability to do those explosive moves. But like I said, I would be trying to buy in like the under 60 or under 70 cent range, and I would be selling somewhere up here in the 180 range. Like make $1, buy 1,000, make $1 off, per share, and then dump it right away is what I would do with these warrants. These are not long-term holds. Neither are most of the miners either. But the warrants, their cycles move so much faster and so much more explosively that by the time this thing does decide to pop up, it's going to be quite dramatic. Now let's take a look, see here. Now that might be soon, actually. I've got, well, it's not quite oversold. I want to see RSI get oversold. I want to see some green lines on the VIX fix, and then maybe see a little green arrow on this here before I'm even remotely interested again. So I'm kind of just watching this one. TMF is gapping all over. I talked about it up here when it was at 63. This was forming a really nice cup. That is now invalid. As soon as we went below this $57 range here, that was invalid. So that is now an invalid cup. That's nothing to be worried about anymore. We did get a base down here. So these big gaps, these were a result of a hawkish Fed talking about no rate cuts in March, which we saw likely aren't going to happen. We're also likely not to see those rate cuts in June, which really pissed off the bond market and made things come really low, almost to the bottom here, almost to these lows at 56. So now we're starting to see a little bit of a bounce. I don't know how much more of a bounce we'll see right now. Maybe we'll slowly crawl back up again, but I do expect further downside in TMF until a rate cut is actually announced.